The Terminator. In 1984, James Cameron created one of cinema's most famous bootstrap paradoxes with The Terminator. The film follows Kyle Reese, sent back from the year 2029 by John Connor to protect Sarah Connor from an assassination attempt by a cyborg killer. During his mission to save her, Kyle becomes romantically involved with Sarah and fathers John Connor himself. This creates an impossible loop where John only exists because he sent his own father back in time, but Kyle only traveled back because John existed to send him. The paradox deepens further with a deleted scene suggesting the destroyed Terminator's chip at Cyberdyne Systems becomes the foundation for Skynet's creation, meaning the artificial intelligence inadvertently creates itself by attempting to prevent its own defeat. There is no original timeline where these events unfold differently. Everything always happened exactly this way, with Kyle Reese always becoming John's father, and the Terminator always providing the technology for its own creation. Cameron designed this deliberately as a closed causal loop with no clear beginning or end. This established one of the most influential time travel concepts in cinema, where the ending literally creates the beginning in an eternal cycle of cause and effect. Bill and Ted. The 1989 comedy Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure transforms time travel paradoxes into pure entertainment. George Carlin plays Rufus, a messenger sent from the year 2688 to help two high school students pass their history class, because the entire utopian future depends on their band, Wild Stallions, creating world-changing music. The film embraces bootstrap paradoxes with gleeful abandon. Bill and Ted meet their future selves, who assure them to trust Rufus and even introduce him by name, despite Rufus never actually telling them what he's called. They only know his name because their future selves tell them, creating information that exists only within the time loop with no actual origin point. Later in the film, they casually remind themselves to wind Ted's watch and pick up the princesses, instructions that only work because they remember receiving them from their future selves. The movie playfully demonstrates that causal loops don't need logical explanations when you're having fun with the concept. The entire future civilization exists because Bill and Ted succeeded, but they only succeeded because the future sent help, making the ending and beginning completely interdependent. Prisoner of Azkaban. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, released in 2004 and directed by Alfonso Cuarón, presents one of the clearest examples of predestination paradox in mainstream cinema. Hermione Granger uses Professor McGonagall's time turner throughout the school year to attend overlapping classes, but the device becomes crucial when she and Harry must travel back 3 hours to save both Buckbeak the Hippogriff and Sirius Black from unjust fates. During these events, Harry witnesses himself being attacked by Dementors at the lake and sees a Patronus charm save him. He initially believes his deceased father cast the protective spell, but realizes he must cast it himself because no one else will. This creates a perfect closed loop, where Harry survives only because his future self saves him. The stone that hits Harry's head earlier in the day was thrown by Hermione when she traveled back. They're not changing the past, but completing it, fulfilling events that already occurred. J.K. Rowling specifically designed time turners to operate on causal loops rather than creating alternate timelines, ensuring the story maintains internal consistency. The ending reveals that every mysterious occurrence throughout the day was actually caused by Harry and Hermione's time travel, making their journey back in time the very thing that allowed the day's events to unfold as they did. 12 Monkeys. Terry Gilliam's 12 Monkeys, released December 29, 1995, presents time travel at its most tragic. Bruce Willis stars as James Cole, a prisoner from the year 2035, sent back repeatedly to gather information about a virus that killed 99% of humanity in 1996. The film opens with young Cole witnessing a man shot to death at an airport, a traumatic childhood memory that haunts him. Cole is sent to the wrong time periods initially, landing in 1990 instead of 1996, and even briefly in World War I trenches. He meets psychiatrist Dr. Catherine Rayleigh, played by Madeline Stowe, when he's institutionalized in 1990, then encounters her again 6 years later. They fall in love while trying to prevent the viral outbreak. The army of the 12 Monkeys turns out to be a misleading clue, and the real terrorist is Dr. Peters, a virologist. In the devastating climax at the airport, Cole is shot while trying to stop Peters from boarding a plane with the virus. The final reveal completes the loop with brutal efficiency. Young Cole witnessed his own adult death, creating a perfect circle where the traumatic memory that shaped his life was actually his own ending. Dr. Rayleigh appears in the memory as well, and a mysterious insurance agent on the plane next to Peter's suggests the virus release was always meant to happen. Cole cannot change anything because everything is predetermined, making this one of cinema's darkest explorations of bootstrap paradoxes, where free will is revealed as illusion. Primer. Released in 2004 on a budget of only $7,000, Primer earned notoriety as possibly the most confusing time travel film ever made. Shane Carruth wrote, directed, produced, edited, and scored this feature debut about two engineers, Aaron and Abe, who accidentally discovered time travel while working on other projects in a garage. The time machine operates by sitting in a box for a specific number of hours, then emerging that same number of hours in the past. Multiple versions of the characters begin existing simultaneously, as they secretly use the device to manipulate stock markets and fix personal problems. They lose trust in each other and start time traveling to outmaneuver one another, creating increasingly complex causal loops. The ending suggests multiple iterations of themselves exist, with no clear sense of which version is original. Carruth deliberately made the plot oblique to mirror the actual confusion time travel would create, refusing to simplify for audiences. The film won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance and has achieved cult status, specifically because understanding the overlapping timelines requires multiple viewings. Unlike films that present causal loops clearly, Primer depicts what recursive time travel might actually look like, making it disorienting and nearly impossible to track, but rigorously logical in its complexity. The ending creates the beginning through so many layered loops that determining causality becomes meaningless. Timecrimes. The Spanish thriller Timecrimes, originally titled Los Cronocrímenes, released in 2007, and demonstrates how one ordinary man becomes trapped in a nightmare of his own making. Hector, played by Cara Elijalde, sees a naked woman in the woods behind his house through binoculars and investigates out of curiosity. He's suddenly attacked by a mysterious figure whose face is wrapped in pink bandages. Fleeing to a nearby scientific facility, Hector meets a scientist who convinces him to hide in what turns out to be a time machine, sending him 1 hour into the past. The horror begins when Hector realizes he must become the pink-bandaged attacker to ensure his past self enters the time machine. Every action he takes to prevent problems only creates them in the first place. He must strip the woman naked and leave her in the woods. He must attack himself. He must do everything exactly as he experienced it, or the timeline collapses. Made on a $2,600,000 budget, the film earned 88% approval on Rotten Tomatoes for its claustrophobic exploration of predestination as trap rather than puzzle. The ending reveals Hector is forever caught in this loop, forced to recreate his own nightmare because any deviation would prevent him from traveling back in the first place. His desperate attempts to fix the situation only ensure the situation exists to be fixed. By the way, if you're enjoying this, I post videos like this regularly. Subscribing would really help me out. Triangle. Christopher Smith's 2009 psychological horror Triangle traps protagonist Jess, played by Melissa George, in what appears to be eternal recursion. Jess is a single mother caring for her autistic son Tommy when she joins friends on a boat trip. After a storm capsizes their vessel, they board an abandoned ocean liner called Aeolus, named after the Greek god of wind. A masked killer stalks and murders the group, revealed to be a future version of Jess herself. She experiences the loop from multiple perspectives, trying different strategies each iteration to save everyone, but failing repeatedly. Jess eventually escapes back to shore and drives home to find another version of herself with Tommy. She kills this version and flees with Tommy, but crashes the car, killing them both. A taxi driver appears, offering to take her to the harbor, restarting the entire cycle. The film suggests Jess is trapped in eternal punishment, visible through piles of her own dead bodies accumulating on the ship. 3 versions of Jess exist simultaneously in each loop cycle, explaining the film's title reference to both the Bermuda Triangle and this trinity of selves. Unlike other time travel films where loops can be escaped through knowledge or sacrifice, Triangle presents recursion as inescapable cosmic punishment. The ending is the beginning in the most horrifying sense possible, an eternal cycle with no memory reset and no possibility of redemption. Predestination. The 2014 Australian film Predestination presents time travel's ultimate identity paradox. Directed by Michael and Peter Spierig and based on Robert A. Heinlein's 1959 short story, the film stars Ethan Hawke as a temporal bureau agent called the Barkeep and Sarah Snook as Jane, later John. The story follows an agent trying to stop the Fizzle Bomber terrorists through time travel. Jane is abandoned as a baby and grows up to become a Space Corps recruit. She falls in love with a mysterious man, gets pregnant, and he disappears. During childbirth, doctors discover she has both male and female reproductive organs and perform gender transition surgery to save her life, making her John. John tells his story to the Barkeep, who recruits him to the Temporal Bureau and takes him back in time. John meets and impregnates his former female self, Jane. The Barkeep then kidnaps the baby and delivers her to an orphanage in the past, the same baby who becomes Jane. The devastating reveal completes the loop. The Barkeep, John, Jane, the baby, and the Fizzle Bomber are all the same person at different life stages. This individual is their own mother, father, child, kidnapper, recruiter, and enemy in a completely self-contained causal loop with no external actors. The ending creates the beginning through biological impossibility, making one person the entirety of their own existence across time. Tenet. Christopher Nolan's 2020 science fiction thriller Tenet explores temporal inversion, where objects and people can move backwards through time. The film follows an unnamed protagonist, played by John David Washington, who discovers a technology that allows entropy to flow in reverse. He learns that a future antagonist named Sator is communicating with the future to obtain inverted weapons and artifacts. The climax features a temporal pincer movement where two versions of the same military operation occur simultaneously, one moving forward in time and one moving backward. The protagonist eventually realizes he is the founder of Tenet, the organization that recruited him at the beginning of the film. He created the entire operation in the future and sent instructions back to his past self, ensuring his own recruitment and the mission's success. The film's structure reveals that the ending is literally the beginning, as the protagonist sets in motion the very events that led to his involvement. Neil, his partner, played by Robert Pattinson, has already completed this mission in reverse, having been recruited by the future protagonist years earlier. The entire operation exists in a closed temporal loop, where the future creates the circumstances that allow the future to exist. Interstellar. Christopher Nolan's 2014 epic Interstellar tackles humanity's ultimate bootstrap paradox across millennia. Matthew McConaughey stars as Cooper, a former NASA pilot recruited for a mission through a wormhole near Saturn, while Earth dies from environmental collapse. Throughout his childhood, Cooper's daughter Murphy experiences a ghost in her bedroom, manipulating books and creating patterns in dust. After entering the black hole Gargantua, Cooper discovers a tesseract, a 5-dimensional space constructed by future humans who evolved beyond 3-dimensional existence. From inside this tesseract, Cooper realizes he is the ghost, manipulating gravity across time to send coordinates to NASA and later transmitting quantum data through Murphy's watch. This data allows adult Murphy, played by Jessica Chastain, to solve the gravitational equation necessary for humanity's survival. The paradox is massive in scale. Future humans built the Tesseract and placed the wormhole to save past humanity. But past humanity must be saved to evolve into future humans capable of building these things. Physicist Kip Thorne served as scientific consultant, ensuring the black hole visualization remained accurate while the bootstrap paradox remained philosophically complex. The ending reveals that Cooper's journey, Murphy's breakthrough, and humanity's salvation all exist in a self-causing loop spanning thousands of years. The future creates its own past by ensuring the past survives to become the future. Looper. Rian Johnson's 2012 Looper confronts assassin Joe, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, with his future self portrayed by Bruce Willis, in a scenario where killing yourself becomes literal. Set in 2044 when time travel hasn't been invented yet, but will be in 2074 and immediately outlawed, loopers are hired killers who execute targets sent back from the future. Eventually, each looper must kill their future self to close the loop. Young Joe fails when old Joe escapes, then learns old Joe is hunting the future crime lord Rainmaker as a child to prevent his wife's death. Young Joe realizes that killing the child's mother will traumatize young Sid, creating the very monster old Joe is trying to prevent. The causal loop becomes clear. The Rainmaker exists because old Joe tried to kill him, and the trauma of that attempt transforms an innocent child into a killer. Young Joe breaks the loop through self-sacrifice, shooting himself to erase old Joe from existence. The film shows timelines changing instantly, with future consequences propagating forward the moment past events alter. Johnson famously included a scene where a character refuses to discuss time travel logic, acknowledging the complexity while keeping focus on human drama. The ending creates the beginning through attempted prevention, making this a perfect example of self-fulfilling prophecy, where fighting fate ensures fate occurs. Triangle of Sadness. Wait, that's not a time travel movie. Let me provide time-lapse instead. The 2014 science fiction film Time-Lapse, directed by Bradley King, presents a unique take on predestination paradoxes through a camera that photographs 24 hours into the future. Three roommates discover their deceased neighbor's invention, a massive camera aimed at their living room window that produces Polaroids showing exactly one day ahead. Artist Finn uses the photos to create paintings he sees himself holding in the future images, while his girlfriend Callie and roommate Jasper use the knowledge for personal gain. The group becomes trapped in a causal loop where they must recreate the exact scenes shown in each photo to maintain the timeline. The photographs show events that only happen because they saw the photographs, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. As Callie secretly manipulates the photos to change her relationship with Finn, the timeline begins to fracture. The climax reveals that all the photographs were creating a closed loop, with the final image showing the beginning of the cycle. The characters' attempts to use future knowledge ultimately trap them in predestined actions, as every choice they make to avoid or achieve the photographed future only ensures that future occurs exactly as shown. The ending circles back to the beginning, revealing the entire week was predetermined by the very device they thought gave them free will. If you found this worth your time, subscribing would help you catch every new video. Thanks for watching.